for $100,000 on December 20th, and I won't mention the contractor's name, but
You're going to say that there was no bid
is
on...
there a written contract to make that, allow that to be encumbered?
We needed a vehicle to encumber the money, because the discussion was that if we could, we should at least have the monies related to that project in this year to match up with the warrant article. And you're right, there is no contract with the vendor involved. I needed at least a decent vendor so I could issue a PO. This is one of those that we know we are going to void this contract, this PO, no matter what happens, whether the project is passed or not. If the project is passed by the town vote, then we now have $100,000 to deal with the potential underpinning issues with the sewer. And this would then become a bid contract. And if I kill the PO and then reissue another one, then the net effect is it's still there.
Well, the thing of it is, though, we don't even know what we're going to be doing with what's under the road at this point in time, and we don't know if the voters will approve it or disapprove it. And my big problem is, if it's encumbered now, it should have been approved by the legislative body to be encumbered, number one, and number two, at $100,000,
it's not
is way over the purchasing policy of a $50,000 guideline.
It's not the legislative body to make accruals against a budgeted line item. This is not going against the warrant article. This is a budgeted line item for sewer repairs.
I don't know if I follow your logic there.
This is under the auspices of your board.
Okay.
Not legislative. This is an open. This is like any other contract that you deal with during the year. You have two things going on. One, you have a warrant article that's out there for a potential project to do the infrastructure, the Lafayette Road.
Yeah.
And from all indications, there is probably some sewer work that's going to have to be done because they did the TV scoping.
Right.
And we found that there's leakage in there.
Right.
And so we had, at the time, we believed enough money to put it as a encumbrance to put it there. We put the PO because that's the easiest vehicle for me to get it on an encumbrance list.
That sounds like to me that we're legally encumbering money in 2012 for something we're going to do in 2013, and $100,000, number one, is way past the bid limit, and number two, if it's encumbered, it should be brought before this board to approve the encumbrance.
That's what I'm doing. That's where I'm here.
But this is 2013 we're in now.
No, we're still dealing with 2012.
I understand, but this was done in December 20th.
And all POs that I'm trying to deal with are cut before December 31st of the year.
Mike, I apologize. I did not get to this over the weekend, so I've been through year-end closings before, not with you, well, with you as well, but on my own. It doesn't happen magically on the 31st of December.
Never will.
I apologize to the board as well for not having had an opportunity to look at this before I got here tonight.
My next one relates to the $100,000 PO related to the sewer repairs, and I have concern with that, and I just want to read the section of the municipal budget law related to lapse of appropriations, and it kind of is the same point on a bigger number as Ben was making on the employee testing or whatever. All appropriations shall lapse at the end of the fiscal year, and any unexpended portion thereof shall not be expended without further appropriation unless, okay? And going to this $100,000 PO, I can only see one line that could pertain to that because most of them relate to different types of funds, capital reserve funds. And this says, the amount has, prior to the end of that fiscal year, which would be December 31st, become encumbered by a legally enforceable obligation created by contract or otherwise to any person for the expenditure of that amount. It doesn't sound like we've got a legally enforceable obligation on that $100,000. So therefore, I don't see how we can encumber that 100,000. So, in my opinion, that 100,000 should not go forward, because I don't believe that, based on my interpret of the statute, and this has been discussed several times since I've been a selectman, and the understanding that I just articulated is the way it was discussed before. And I think the same thing applies to Ben's. Which one was that, Ben? It was small. It was about 4,500.
It was something in the police department for testing.
Right. So, I mean, I don't, to be honest with you, I don't have, I understand the idea behind, trying to take that 100,000 and put it aside for the sewer work, because I think we are going to have to spend some money on sewer, if, in fact, the warrant article is approved. But I just don't see how we can do it.
Mr. Chairman, can I
Yeah.
make one? I think we had talked about some number for Lafayette Road, and I don't think we necessarily said that it was going to be dependent upon whether the intersection was approved. This is if I understand it, it's as a result of the camera work that was done late summer, early fall, and there were two areas that Public Works said were in very bad condition, and I think we talked about this at that time and said we should repair those irrespective of what happens to the...
I agree with that, but my point, Ben, is in order, it indicates the amount has, prior to the end of that fiscal year, become encumbered by a legally enforceable obligation created by contract or otherwise to any person for the expenditure. If that's what we wanted to do, then back in December, we should have figured out what we wanted done and entered into a contract with an individual. We didn't do that.
Well, but I think we're talking about now how pure we will be as far as these things. I think for probably for at least 10 years, if not longer, we have issued a PO which has been done in December, and we've encumbered the funds in that direction. So that's the way we've done it. I'm not sure if we can change the rules.
I'm just suggesting that we comply with the statute. That's all I am suggesting.
That's what I was trying to point out earlier, Mr. Chairman.
And I don't, to be quite honest with you, if this was a $500 or a $4,000 expenditure, I'm not sure I would have made a big issue of it, but it's $100,000. So that's my opinion, and let me continue along with my points, and we can ultimately decide how we're going to handle that. Final point is back to the point I made. I don't believe that the one end result of that we should be going ahead with a $100,000 encumbrance simply because we don't have a legally binding obligation. And I think if we start doing that, particularly with large sums of money or whatever, I just don't think it's the proper way to do it, and I don't think it's consistent with the statutes.
Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for the recognition. Admiral Spotzer, good to see you. Isn't this fun?
That's what I live for.
There you go. Thanks for the great work you do. And I'm just taking a little bit of a different tack. I'd like to talk about the revenues.
Sure.
And this isn't anything you're even going to really have to look at. I'm just going to kind of freely talk.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I would like to make a motion, and my motion is that we remove the $100,000 for the sewer work under Winnicott Road for the contract that does not exist.
I'll second that.
We have a first and a second discussion. Is this what you recommend, or
it's the board's wish. I tried to at least give them or you the vehicle to cover the work that we believe is underneath Lafayette Road. If it's not done this way, then it'll come out of next year's budget if the work has proceeded. So
I personally am not going to have a problem with doing it the way that you've suggested.
Yep.
I think we've done things like this in the past. It's not inconsistent. It's not as if it hasn't been transparent. We've talked about this earlier, that said that if we knew that we had some issues, in fact, I think we used the word encumber when we talked about it earlier in the year. So I think we've been through this before, and I think I think the finance director is following the direction that was provided earlier in the year.
I have a significant problem with that, Ben. Thank you anyway. If in fact the statute makes it pretty clear in my mind that we're supposed to at least okay this, and the second thing I have a problem with, it has the appearance that we had a purchase, so to speak, that would violate the purchasing policy. So we got two significant problems there that I have to deal with in my own mind, and I think that we can't, if we start making little exceptions for little, I mean, this is a significant exception for $100,000, I think that is just not right in my mind. Plus, we're taking $100,000 out of this year's budget and applying it to something we're going to do in 2013 that the voters didn't approve in the budget. So one could argue that it's not really a very clean thing to do.
Okay. Any other comments?
I have one other comment. Had we done the necessary work and actually had a contract, whatever, I would be all in favor of this. But I'm absolutely opposed to us encumbering amount of money that the statute says we have to have a legally enforceable obligation, and we have something listed here with a company that we're acknowledging doesn't exist. But that's just,
Okay.
it's phony.
Any other comments? All those in favor?
Of getting rid of it?
No. Oh, well, wait.
In
What
favor
was
of the motion. The motion was to remove the $100,000.
Yes.
Okay. So, all those are in favor?
I didn't get a chance to comment, and I would like to.
Oh, okay,
If I
I'm
may,
sorry.
Mr. Chairman, it'll be very brief. I think I did hear the town manager say that the statute says may. Is that correct, Mr. Welch?
No,
We're talking about transfers.
Transfers? Okay.
This is
all
a
right.
completely different subject.
And the other is this a point of law? Selectman Nichols?
I would say so.
Okay, and did we get input from town attorney on this? Okay. Thank you very much. That's all I had.
I myself am going to go with what Mr. Schwarzer has to say. So, all those in favor of Mr. Nichols' motion, and those against? So it's 3-2.
I don't think this sets a very good precedent in the public view.
Thank you.
Could I ask the board's indulgence in the one other thing that I was requesting was permission to, in essence, generate, through my fault that it wasn't done, generate a purchase order to the tune of $14,350 to update the code through the General Code LLC, and we do have documentation going back to August with a quote. It's a sole source.
I would move that we add the $14,340?
$350.
$350 for the code book update.
Second?
Discussion?
I don't think we really should do this because now we're into the January by half a month, and we're trying to go back and tidy up 2012. I don't think that really comes up to any accounting standards I've ever read, especially when I took accounting and got my degree in business administration. I don't think that cuts it, so I'm definitely against that.
Move the question.
All those in favor? Against? 3-2. Thank you very much.
I will be back in a couple of weeks. I will have answers, and I will get them out to you prior to that time, and I will continue to work on the information.
We realize it's rough at the end of the year, and you look a little tired, so.
Thank you. I will not be putting this up on the webpage. Somebody asked about it today. This, to me, is an interim number, and so I want to get further through the process before publishing numbers, and it will be the amount that will actually go into the town report.
Thank
So
you.
when would you be publishing the December expenditure?
When I come back in the next 2 weeks, 2 weeks from now?
Okay, by the end of January then?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yep.
Thank you very
Thank you, Michael.
much.
Thank you.